The United States and the international community have been appalled and outraged by the threats, the beatings, and imprisonments of the last few days. I strongly condemn these unjust actions, and I join with the American people in mourning each and every innocent life that is lost.
In my playbook tonight, those were the strongest words yet from President Obama condemning the Iranian regime's actions. Was it enough for the antis? We'll see. We've had the likes of Republican Senators John McCain and Lindsey Graham come out criticizing the president. They say he isn't speaking tough enough. He's not supporting the protesters enough.
I think the president needs to appreciate the historical moment we're in. And I'd like to see my president, our president, speak up boldly and loudly.
The Iranian people need to have our moral support now. I'm not talking about sending arms. I'm not talking about anything except showing our moral support and our belief in human values. And I don't think that should be hard.
Wow. What do you want him to do? I'm just astonished at the rhetoric that's being thrown around by the right wing. They just can't get enough of confrontation. Today, the president brushed aside all of his critics, saying, "Only I'm the president." Was it enough for the critics? Let's find out. Joining me now is Republican Congressman Dana Rohrabacher of California, the congressman who sits on the House Foreign Affairs Committee and co-chairs the Iran Human Rights and Democracy Caucus. Congressman, good to have you with us tonight. Quickly outline for us, what do you want President Obama to do at this point, or did today make any difference in your opinion of him being, quote, a cream puff?
Well, first and foremost, the president should just not say, I am against what the mullah dictatorship is doing, but say that the mullah dictatorship is itself wrong and immoral, and we are on the side of the people who want real democracy and human rights in Iran.
Okay, so speeches and words do matter then.
He can't get himself to condemn the fundamental nature of this, yes, evil mullah dictatorship.
Okay, what would that do? I mean, the president has been accused of all he does is give speeches and words don't matter and everything else. And now when this situation comes up, he disengages and says, look, we're supporting the people who are doing the protesting, but the Iranian people have got to basically figure this thing out. And for once, we got a president who's not doing any intervention or any saber rattling. What's the downside of that,
We're not talking about saber. Using the word saber rattling is no one is advocating that we're going to threaten our U.S. military action. But a president using strong language rather than weak language or apologetic language, they can get something done. Ronald Reagan ended the Cold War by making it very clear to both the oppressed people behind the Iron Curtain as well as their communistic oppressors that we were on the side of the people who wanted democracy, freedom, and human rights. This president hasn't articulated it. Thus, unlike Ronald Reagan ending the Cold War by being tough, this president will not end the war with radical Islam because they will think that we are weak.
So you want, I guess, the president to go over there and give us a Ronald Reagan tear down this wall moment. I mean, you're basically saying that the president's not talking tough enough to the world community on this and not encouraging more.
In terms of what you mean by tough enough, we're not talking about tough as in we're going to beat you up and we're the tough guys. I'm talking about being strong in one's advocacy of those principles of human rights and democracy, which the mullah regime and radical Islam is exactly on the other side of, just like the communist bosses were. We didn't have any fear about, oh, the communist bosses might get upset and think we're belligerent.
You think President Obama fears the situation in Iran? You think he fears this?
I think that he has in his mind that we're going to make the mullah dictators there upset if we come on like we're on the side of the people who oppose them. We should be on the side of the people who oppose them and not worry about the mullah dictators because they're murderers, they're gangsters, and the people of Iran don't want them.
Okay, so the president made no headway today at all at his press conference. Is that what I'm hearing?
Let me put it this way. He ratcheted up the language a little bit, but if he would have been talking even a little bit tougher a few days ago, we might not have been seeing the violence and bloodshed of this repressive regime in Tehran in the last 2 days.
Congressman, let me get this straight. You're saying that if President Obama had talked tougher, there wouldn't have been death in the streets in Iran? Am I hearing that?
Let me tell you something. The North Koreans and the Iranian mullah dictatorship, yeah, when the president talks tough with them, they are less certain of themselves and less likely to commit these acts of violence against their own people.
So you're blaming President Obama for what's going on in Iran?
I'm blaming President Obama for not doing what he could have done. I'm blaming the death and destruction on the mullahs there. But
Okay.
it's our job to make sure those people know that we're against those mullahs.
But I thought I just heard you say that if President Obama had spoken out stronger earlier, there wouldn't have been the death in the streets. Did I not hear that?
That doesn't mean he's responsible for that. He's responsible for his own actions.
So he could have. So you think that President Obama could have curbed the action? Is that right?
His own actions and his lack of a tough statement early on gave them the impression of weakness, which emboldened the mullah dictatorship. I think we should have been. It'd be like Ronald Reagan going to the Berlin Wall and saying, "Mr. Gorbachev, that's your business over there. We don't have any business doing this." Of course, Gorbachev wouldn't have permitted the wall to come down then.
Okay. Congressman Rohrabacher, great to have you on the program tonight. I appreciate your time. Please come back. We want to chew the fat on this again.
Thank you, Ed.
Thanks so much. And our panel's going to have a lot more to say about this when we come back. Stay with us. You're watching The Ed Show on MSNBC.